Hey guys, welcome to What If Fanfictions. This video is going to be an interesting one as we are going to see how a man from our world is going to live when he is sent to Marvel Universe. This is second part of I Reborn in Marvel World. Marvel Gamer Path. Now without wasting any more time, let's start. I debated over my options, and decided to kill the other Winter Soldiers. Saving Bucky would be beneficial, yes, but it was a high-risk bet. For one, if they activated him before I could kill those guarding him, I would be fucked, so in a long-term case, dealing with the ones they left behind was a considerably better choice. Best case would have been being able to save him and kill the rest, but I didn't have the tools to destroy the base and save Bucky at the same time. As it was, I was already risking a lot by still being here, so any mistake could potentially lead to my inevitable capture. Using sight, I eyed Bucky one more time, before I closed my connection with him. Sorry Bucky, but unfortunately you are not my priority. I am not Cap. Sight has leveled up. Ha, I guess using it so much really paid off. Alright, time to kill some Winter Soldiers, I muttered, as I started to plan how to enter the room where they were keeping the Winter Soldiers. Seeing as the room had only one entrance from my side, and one from the back, with both apparently needed a special code to enter, I had but one choice, using the vent I had discovered using sight. But as I had said earlier, the vent was connected to a gas tank ready to be used at Hydra's command, meaning, I first needed to take care of the gas, then of the soldiers. Nodding to myself, I walked out of the broom closet I was hiding in, using sight on the surveillance room as I climbed to the vent with relative ease. Then ripping the vent open with my bare hands, I entered the vent, and started to crawl over to the gas room. Now, all I had to do was crawl my way over to the gas room, and cut the connection said room had to the ventilation system of the base, effectively eliminating the biggest threat to my mission. There it is, I grinned, reaching the vent that connected to the gas room. Now all I had to do was block that up, but how? Mana arrows. I didn't have a skill for this situation, so I improvised. I was the gamer after all. So, using my skill mana arrows, I focused my mana on my hands, creating two balls of energy that I didn't let go. Then I used said balls of energy to melt the vent shut. It was surprisingly easy. A new skill had been created equals Mana Forge. Mana Forge, I wonder if that for later, Alex. Focus on the task at hand. Now that the gas room, aka the biggest problem on my list, was effectively neutralized, it was time to eliminate the Winter Soldiers. With that in mind, I crawled my way to the room where my targets were, kicking the vent open as I jumped out of it. Once outside, I stretched, grabbing a gun from my inventory. I love that Hydra made it easy for me to kill you guys, I said, pressing the trigger, killing the cryogenized soldiers with a bullet to the head each. You have level up. You have level up. You have level up. 3 levels, wow, I did not expect that. I suppose killing them was somewhat special then. As I pondered over this, the alarms went off, and I knew what it meant. Hydra knew I was here. I guess it was unavoidable. Sighing, I made my way to the vent, but stopped, my mind going over an idea so crazy, it might just work. What if I studied the blood of the Winter Soldiers? They were lesser versions of Captain America, but their blood had information about the Super Soldier Serum. This is going to make my exit harder than it has to be, but, fuck it. Turning around, I opened all the cryogenic pots and with my machete cut the arms of every single one of the Winter Soldiers, and put them on my inventory. I would later see if I could get anything with them. Okay, time to kill some bastards. Quest created, you are the target of the Winter Soldier. Hydra has started to activate the Winter Soldier to hunt you down in their base. You have 2 hours and 10 minutes before he is fully functional to kill him or escape the base. Objective: survive. Failure: capture. Reward: 500.000 EXP, $150.000. Home: ain't this a surprise? They sure went all out with this red alarm, so Bucky is being activated, and I have 2 hours to escape, haha, please, as if I needed 2 hours to fuck this base off. Without Bucky, this was a low-level area for me. Running to the vent, I climbed inside the vent and crawled out of the room to a hall where no less than 50 Hydra soldiers were waiting for me. With a grin, I kicked the vent open, and ducked out of the rain of bullets they threw at me, finding cover behind a wall where I used my telekinesis to grab and take their weapons with a quick pull. I can't wait to be bulletproof. I wonder how much definite I need for that, I hummed deep in thought, throwing a few grenades at them, courtesy of Fury, killing them all. I should really thank Fury for all the illegal weapons he gets me. I chuckled, grabbing a rifle from my inventory, also courtesy of Fury. 2:08 and 45 seconds. A timer, what a little nice touch. Every day I learn something new from my powers. Okay, I have enough time to burn this base to the ground and get some food on the way home. He's over there. I heard someone shout. Turning around, I aimed my free hand at the person who had shouted and blasted him with a mana arrow, as I ran towards the rest of his group, shooting my rifle at them. Left and right, I continued killing the Hydra puppets as I made my way to exit. So far, I had killed no less than 200 agents, and by this point they were no approaching me as casually as they did at the beginning. They were getting creative, so to speak. But regardless of their futile attempts, their lives had expired, and they had no choice but to accept this inescapable destiny. Please, don't kill me, one of them pleaded, and frankly, a year ago I would have cared. No, I replied, breaking his neck with my hands, my eyes on the exit thanks to sight, though it was probably blocked by now, to keep me in a controlled environment to help Bucky on his hunt. You won't escape, not now that we know you are here. A wounded Hydra muttered with a close-lipped smile. You have no idea how resourceful I am, I winked, shooting him in the head. Agent Walker, it's so good to see you. A voice was heard through the speakers of the base, a man's voice, echoing in the now lifeless halls like a hollow symphony. Worry not, soon you will return to us. What you can do is simply something we can't afford to lose. Look at you, a killing machine, a tool waiting to be used. At this I raised an eyebrow. Whoever this guy was, knew me because of my files. His voice didn't sound familiar at all. Cute, but I already retired, and as you can see, I am now hunting you guys. I wasn't sure if he could hear me, but if he replied it would answer my question. Oh, but Mr. Walker, retirement is not something you have a right to. You are a tool, to be used until broken. He was buying time. What funny thing, he must know as things are going. I will manage to exit this base before Bucky is even activated, so he is making small talk just to keep me in place. The oldest trick in the book, but two can play that game. You don't say. I chuckled, as I used sight to locate this man, whoever he was. He probably had the codes to stop this lockdown situation. So, why don't we avoid unnecessary violence, and simply accept things as they are? You know you can't escape, and soon, our hound will catch you, so why struggle against such odds? You know what's funny about all this? I chuckled, finally seeing where he was hiding. That now I know who do I have to kill, Mr. Riddick, I grinned, reading his name tag. What? His voice sounded thick now, full with worry and uncertainty. He, don't worry that little head of yours yet, we'll see each other soon, then you can worry. With that said, I grabbed my gun and ran towards his location. He was 2 floors down, and with the time I still had, which was 1 hour and 20 minutes, I had time to pay him a visit, have heart to heart, or more accurately his heart to my hand. Stop him! I heard the man shout through the comms of the building, as I saw him running out of his office. God I love, sight. You can run, but you can't hide, I sang, shooting at the troops he had sent to stop me. My accuracy was at this point so good, almost all my shots were headshots, which only sped the process of eliminating unwanted obstacles, well, if you could call them that. Cutting corners, I took a shortcut to catch up with Mr. Dick, by breaking open the elevators and jumping 2 floors down, to where the Mr. Dick was waiting for the elevator. It was obvious at this point this guy had never watched a movie before. The elevator is the worst thing to use during an escape. You. Mr. Dick muttered, Robert Riddick LV-22, taking a few steps back. He was already sweating. How fortunate for me. This would be easy. You see, anticipation is half of the work for torture and sex. I know 2 different things, but with anticipation you get better results with both, and he was anticipating my arrival, and the pain this would bring me. I smiled, grabbing the man by the shirt as he tried to run. Then, I shoved my hand into his mouth, ripping the suicide pills he had in store. Now that you can't go all Hail Hydra on me, how about you help me escape? As a reward, I will make your death a quick one. How about it? Mr. Dick shuddered, his hands trembling. Sad really, how can such a pathetic guy be in charge of anything? I won't help you. Oh, you will. I winked, dragging him into a conveniently close torture room. I knew his type, the one with power, that never had to feel any pain. I knew them very well, and I also knew how to make them sing, and oh, he would sing such things, of that I would make sure. It took me 19 minutes and 48 seconds to utterly break the man. To think a few minutes ago he didn't want to share anything. Now, I even knew where his family lived. I would have to pay them a visit later, but for now, it was time to escape. Kill me, the once prideful doctor begged. I will, as soon as these doors open, I replied, dragging him to the exit, where he would put his codes to override the lockdown. Shaking, and covered in blood and piss, he went to the control panel and put his codes, effectively ending the lockdown, and granting me my freedom from this oversized cage. Now, kill me. Once again, the doctor begged, desiring the sweat release that came with total darkness. To think breaking his balls with a hammer, after injecting a pain-stimulating drug in them, would be so effective. I suppose a deal is a deal, I nodded, as the doors opened, putting a bullet in his head. Now that that was done, all I had to do was walk out of the base, which according to my minimap only had a dozen survivors, including Bucky, more than enough to send a message, and let the chaos spread like a disease. 0:49 and 21 seconds. 49 minutes left, not bad. I will try to speed run the next base, gotta break my record. 1 month later. It has been 30 days since the day I encountered the Winter Soldiers and killed most of them, save for Bucky. Since then I have eliminated 8 bases, and yet Hydra has only increased their efforts to capture me, sending more and more agents, forcing Emily and I to be on the move. This entire dilemma brought me back to when I tortured Mr. Dick a month ago. He was very vocal, very open about all things, and he sang the melodies I wanted him to sing, and some I did not want to hear and ignored at the time. On his unrequested symphony he went into great detail how Hydra would never stop hunting me, for I had proven my value was beyond what they thought possible, that they would forever be in the shadows, waiting for me to lower my guard, that I would forever live. Looking upon my shoulder, fearing the day I slipped up, such a miserable tune, one I wanted no part in. This made me wonder, would my message actually do something? Would me destroying their bases one by one actually change a thing? Or would simply encourage them to try harder and harder in the greedy attempt to own me and my powers? So far that seemed to be the case. I didn't want that, but what else could I do? As it stood, I was around super soldier levels of power, at least their bootleg version. I had no real power to wipe them off, I had no tools to hurt them. Eliminating Hydra was something well beyond my current capabilities. That was something I knew, a disease I was not prepared to fully cure, a demon I was not yet ready to purge. But not all diseases or demons need to be eliminated right away. Some can be controlled and managed into a livable situation. Eliminating them by normal means was an impossibility, a fruitless endeavor that would never be completed, a quest that went beyond the span of a human life, and in reality, I really had no idea how long it would take to eliminate them. Maybe years, decades, perhaps even more. It was simply time I did not have, and even if I did, well, who would want to spend an eternity by human standards hunting them? Besides that, I had Emily to take into consideration too. I had no idea if I was ageless or not. Perhaps I was, but Emily was not. She was a human, a normal human, and a life of eternal fear was not one I wanted to subject her to. So, I had to think outside the box. I had to teach Hydra that I too was an impossibility to deal with, a threat so big they would prioritize saving their resources instead of wasting them on me. I had to become the Heracles of their mythos. I had to teach them I could slay them. I could always focus my time in trying to decipher the super soldier serum from the samples I got from the winter soldiers, but that would take time where nothing was a guarantee, time I could use in something else. Like hunting another type of power, one easier yet arguably harder to acquire, the power the Ancient One had. What she knew would give me the tools to end Hydra. You see, learning to open portals would be very, very beneficial. After all, with that skill, all I needed to do was open portals in the Hydra locations I had on my map, leave bombs inside the bases and burn Hydra with unavoidable attacks. I mean, what were they supposed to do? There is no way to stop an attack like that. With a power like that, I would Amazon Prime bomb on their asses, and who knows, Emily might have a knack for the mystic arts. It would certainly help her out in the long run, but that was me just getting ahead of myself. So here I was, on my way to Karmatage, with Emily sleeping, her head resting on my legs. As for Fury, well, I didn't tell him, I just left him my number, in case of emergencies. "We'll be arriving in Nepal in 10 minutes, I heard the pilot say through the comms of the plane. I suppose this is for the best." I sighed, wondering if the Ancient One would give me a book or two. In the movies she seemed like a nice enough person, but this was not a movie. Once the plane reached the airport in Nepal, I took Emily and walked. If there was a good thing about my map, it was that I knew where most things were. Of course, things like Karmatage were not exactly on my map. So, I asked every person I saw. One would eventually lead me there, or have more information than I had. Also, I thought, because 1 hour in after arriving at Nepal, where I started to ask everyone about Karmatage, I encountered a door with a tag floating above it, which was weird. Only people had tags, aka their names and levels. Door, it's a door. Funny enough, the name was simply door, it's a door, no level, no awesome description, just that. But if I had to take a wild guess, that door had magic, and considering the only ones with magic around here are the sorcerers, and me now, but it's a different kind of magic, so that was probably my entrance to Karmatage. Well, here goes nothing, I sighed, walking to the door, Emily sleeping soundly in my arms. Once I was in front of the door, I pushed it open, feeling how said door took some of my mana. Inside I found myself in the same house Dr. Strange had visited after arriving at Nepal, the house where he met the Ancient One. Well, that was easy, I muttered. It's not easy for everybody, someone behind me added, startling the crap out of me. Holy fuck, I jumped, turning around, to see no other than the Ancient One. You should really consider having a bell on you. The Ancient One, LV 219. The Ancient One chuckled, her eyes piercing me with an unshakable gaze that made me feel nude. You are very different. I don't think I have met someone like you before. The Ancient One circled me, her eyes giving a long scrutinizing look, index fingers pressed to her lips. You are very symmetrical. Emily in my arms, I frowned. How was I supposed to answer that? Thanks. Never seen such symmetry in the mystical arts. It's rather vexing, the Ancient One added, a rather hard-to-read smile on her face. In fact, now that I think about it, every expression coming from her is rather difficult to understand on some level. But enough about that. You must have a reason to be here. Everyone has one. I do, I nodded. Follow me, Mr. Walker, the Ancient One smiled, her eyes closing into two thin lines, before she started walking, with me close behind, while I wondered, how did she know about me? You know me? I inquired, my eyes on her as I did so. On a surface level, she answered, making no stop on her walk. I know bits and such, nothing personal, I assure you. Deciding it was best to take that answer, I nodded as I continued following her through the house into an empty room with 2 chairs and a teapot. Looking at me, she took a seat, pouring some hot delicious tea into a cup, and with a smile offered, "Would you like some?" At her offer, I nodded, taking a seat on the only empty chair as she served me the cup of tea she had graciously offered. "Now," she said, handing me the cup, "what is it that you want?" "You don't know?" I asked. Taking a sip from her cup, she smiled, this time a less friendly smile. "I have an idea, considering your upbringing, but I would like to hear it from you, the source, so to speak." She finished, putting her empty teacup on the table in front of her. Blinking, I looked at the table that 2 seconds ago hadn't been there in surprise, before I replied, "I want to learn some things from you, if possible." Unconvinced with my answer, the Ancient One looked at me, her gaze piercing beyond the corners of my soul as she asked, "Is that truly all?" "I suppose, the reason behind all of this, is eliminating a threat that will never stop hunting me." If she knew about my upbringing here, there was no point of lying. "Hydra, is it?" the Ancient One asked, her eyes on mine. "Yes," I nodded. "Why?" the Ancient One inquired. "Why? Because I would never be allowed to rest until they were dead, because as long as they think I belong to them, I will never be truly free." "You could," the Ancient One replied, a faint smile appearing on her face. "Could what?" I muttered in confusion. "You could be free, even without killing them," she finished with a small chuckle, standing up from her chair as she did so. "The question is, would you want to be free with them existing?" "Well, let's operate under the assumption I could be free without killing them," I sighed. "I still would like to erase them. They hurt others, and do things that will forever haunt me, haunt her," I muttered, looking at Emily. "I see," the Ancient One nodded. "Very well then, when can you start?" I looked at her, perplexed with what was going on. By how the conversation was moving, I expected her to kick me out. "You don't find my quest morally incorrect? I am not in a position to judge you, nor your goals. I do think you need to heal and mend the wounds they inflicted upon your being, but healing can't be forced, it happens naturally," the Ancient One said, her eyes on me. "You are the master of your own destiny, Mr. Walker, I am but a passenger you have invited. Besides, in a way, your goals align with what we stand for, protecting the world, though we usually focus on mystical threats, but we can't all face dark gods and demons, can we?" She winked. Was that a joke? I'm sorry. It's just you are the first person not to, well, have a strong reaction to my goal. Most either look at me like I am crazy, while some share my vision with anger like Eric. He hated Hydra. "Well, that's them," the Ancient One smiled. "All I do is help people heal. I help them to find a way to heal themselves. Most find such help in the mystic arts, and I am happy to help." Nodding at her answer, I reminded myself she was one to always have a motive behind her actions. She was old, older than I could imagine, meaning she had experience playing the game, but, as people say, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. "So, when do you want to start?" Mr. Walker, the Ancient One asked again. "Right away," I answered with a smile. The Ancient One, POV. Symmetry in the mystic arts was an impossibility. Mana was free of such things, yet, there he was, a magically symmetrical being. It was as if his body was a computer perfectly regulating the mystical energies of his body in a vexingly perfect way. In all my years, I had never witnessed such a thing, and I had witnessed many things. Perhaps this was why I had seen him fighting alongside Doctor Strange during my visions of the future. "All right, as I see you already have so rudimentary training in the mystic arts, I will start you with this," I said, tossing him a sling ring, teleporting his daughter to a room. "Where is Emily?" Alex asked, his tone holding a growl. "I had a room made for her, yours is next door." Now smiling, I opened a portal to the Sahara Desert, and pushed him inside, tossing him a scroll with the information how to open a portal like he had requested. Normally I wouldn't do such a thing, throwing him a scroll and such, but his readings were so symmetrical I felt like this was the best way to teach him, instead of expecting him to sweat on reflect. "Show me how much knowledge you have, and how you can use it." With that said, I walked through the portal back to my office, taking a seat only to hear. "I'll be honest with you, I already learned what I wanted." He learned the portal immediately. How fascinating. Learning to open portals was super easy, barely an inconvenience. Now learning how to make bombs powerful enough to blow up buildings with 20 floors at a minimum, now that was a challenge. But fortunately for me, the library in Karmatage had all the books I could have asked for. Why would a place that is dedicated to the practice of the mystic arts have bomb-making books? No idea, it really didn't make any sense, but I didn't care, so with those non-magical books, I started to learn and practice. As for the Ancient One, well, she was training Emily. Remember when I said, maybe Emily has a knack for the mystical arts? Well, I was right. Well, not entirely. According to the Ancient One, everyone has a knack for the mystic arts, but not everyone wants to learn. She was very magi at times. So, there she was, Emily practicing with the Ancient One how to open a portal. She had yet to succeed, but boy was she trying hard. It was funny really, because unlike the others, the Ancient One didn't kick her into a mountain or harsh place. Right now the Ancient One was like Valerie Frizzle, the teacher of the magical school bus, the teacher every kid wanted. Anyway, back to me. Here I was making bombs. So far the first few ones I managed to make were weak, but I was getting there. My bomb making skill was getting there. Bomb making LV35. How is the bomb making business? The Ancient One inquired. You are surprisingly chill about all this, I replied, stopping what I was doing. I had already learned in a bad way things like bomb making needed all your attention. I almost lost a finger 2 days ago. You are killing terrorists, and also you refuse to join us, at least completely. meaning what you do is really none of my concern. The Ancient One smiled, taking a seat. Well, while joining sounds great, you know my reasons not being able to interfere in most affairs was a hard no for me. Those affairs were EXP I was not going to give up. Also, some affairs I wanted to stop altogether. I understand, and I can respect it. The Ancient One nodded. Your child will be a great sorceress. Considering she had the ability to see the future, that was good. So, have you decided what I can access from your magical library, and what I cannot? Part of me not joining was that I didn't have full access to the magic-related items. I have. You will have the same access everyone has, the Ancient One replied, once again surprising me. I thought only those that belong to the Order had access to the library, I muttered. Oh, that was a lie, the Ancient One chuckled. I was trying to convince you to join, but in reality who has and who has not access to those books is my decision. I am the Sorceress Supreme, I can decide such things. It's refreshing how honest she is. I see. You know you can stay here, right? The Ancient One said. Here Emily would be safe, and Hydra would never reach you. As if being summoned, Goose walked into the room, purring. Petting Goose, I looked at her and smiled. I might take you up on that offer, but it might not be needed. After I destroy Hydra, I will be able to live anywhere, though most likely I will wait until Emily learns how to open a portal, so that she can come here and practice more. Well, if you ever feel like living here, feel free to do so, the Ancient One chuckled, as she started to walk out of the room. Why are you so friendly with me? I asked. I didn't understand why was she so accommodating with me. The Ancient One hummed, you are important, more so than you even realize. And with that she walked out of the room. 1 month later and I had done it. I had created the bombs that would fry Hydra out of my life, bombs with enough power to destroy their bases, bombs with a 0.8 kiloton of power in the bomb scale. Time to Amazon Prime their asses. I grinned, opening a portal to one of the bases, and throwing a bomb with a timer set for 10 seconds. And so the repeating cycle began, open portal, throw bomb, close portal, open portal, throw bomb, close portal, open portal, take a selfie, throw bomb, close portal. I think this might be the most broken combination ever. I mean, in only 10 minutes I had destroyed 97 bases, and had leveled up 5 times. Heck, this was so motherfucking effective. I was planning on traveling around the world, discovering all the Hydra bases and then bombing them. It was literally an EXP farm. Then again, maybe I let them grow back again and farm them, my own EXP farm. Oh well, I shrugged, opening a portal and throwing a bomb. Nick Fury, POV. Places around the USA were exploding like motherfucking popcorn, and I fucking knew that little bastard was the one behind such explosions. I swear to God, when I see him again, I will slap the bitch for not telling me. I don't fucking care if the motherfucker is super strong or that he has a fucking man-eating cat. The bitch will get the slap for not letting me know he was bombing Hydra. That was something I wanted in. What the hell is that? I muttered as a yellow circle, a portal opened in front of me, and from it a letter fell off. Tilda, dear Fury, I know by this point you know what I am doing. Sorry for not telling you. I owe you a beer. With love, Alex Tilda. The bitch was still getting the slap, especially if he thought Nick Fury was so cheap that he could be bought with a beer. By the end of the first month in Carmitage, I had successfully eliminated Hydra from the USA. Base-wise, I mean, I knew there were some agents still out there, but bases and safe houses. Nope, they had all been blown up. Needless to say, Fury was whooping mad with me. His texts were very graphic with how he would get his motherfucking revenge for not keeping him up to date. He said, and I quote, "I don't fucking care if you went to the Oompa Loompa land to learn terrorist magic, I will fuck the magic terrorist out of you." To which I replied, "Bring it on, bitch." Anyway, after hearing Fury rant about how irresponsibly mad my plan had been, I continued making bombs, because if I took into account how many bases were in the USA, and how many countries were in the world, well, I had to make at least 41.925 bombs, that's if each country had above 200 bases like the USA. As for Emily, she was still trying to make a portal, she wasn't close yet, but her circles with the sling ring were already making yellow sparks, and she had leveled up thanks to the Ancient One. It was surprising really. When we arrived Emily was level 3, now she's level 9, and has mana on her status, something she didn't have before. As for me, well, killing some many Hydra bases had given me a massive amount of EXP, I was already level 105, and considering that when I started this was around level 90, well, I was doing good. I don't understand why she allows you access to all of our books, without being a part of our order. Who was that? Cal Mordo LV 129, he and I didn't go along too well, he thought I was not as committed as I should be to the mystic arts, and I thought he was an ass for question my motives. I mean, if he had a problem, why not go to the big guy, or in this case the big girl, she is the boss here, not me. Whining in my ear in a passive-aggressive tone won't do shit. I don't know, and like I told before, ask the Ancient One. I was one question away from recording this answer, so that I could put in a boombox for him to hear. Without saying anything, he left. Anyway, back to sexy old me, I was not only level 105, but my intern whiz had skyrocketed thanks to the teachings of the Ancient One. You see, after learning how to open portals, I was greeted by the cold revelation that I didn't have the required stats for most spells, so I either had to level up and put some points into whiz and int, or farm the old stats the old-fashioned way. I picked the latter. It was hard though, because I had grown complacent of my power doing the learning for me, so well, it was like college all over again. Thank goodness the Ancient One was patient, because if I didn't ask her 1,000 questions every time we partook in something, well, let's just say if I didn't I wasn't there. As I was saying, not only my int and whiz had increased but also my other stats had increased as well. With good old training, I think I was shaping to be a spellsword, or a warrior mage, for how things were going. Name, Alex Walker. Job, the gamer. Level, LV 105. EXP, 41875/394512. Title, Mutant. HP, 120.000/120.000. MP, 55400/55400. STR, 490. VIT, 475. Definite, 315. DEX, 340. Int, 292. Char, 164. Wis, 285. Will, 188. Po, 174. LUK, 114. Points, 130. Money, $11.580.785. As for my new skills, well. Portal, active, LV29 equals Portal is a useful utility spell that allows the caster to transport himself or something else to a desired location as long as the caster knows where said location is. Each portal costs 50 MP. Eldritch Magic Mastery, passive, LV44 equals Eldritch magic, is a light-based magic that produces sparks and fiery energy in a yellow, orange color. This type of magic is highly versatile. It can be used to generate constructs of tangible energy, such as melee weapons and shields, as well as to cast spells by conjuring specific formations and geometric patterns with the fiery energy. It gives a 121.5% EXP boost when learning Eldritch-related spells. Eldritch Whip, active, LV29 equals using your connection to the Eldritch arts. You are able to conjure fiery lines you can use as whips or lassos for combat. The whips or lassos constantly emit sparks of mystic energy, evoking a serrated appearance, generating more force than the user normally can produce alone. This allows a user to effortlessly restrain and drag its targets with the rope or strike someone with enough force to send them flying across a room. Eldritch Shield, active, LV27 equals using your connection to the Eldritch arts. You are able to conjure a powerful shield that feeds off your mana. The shield's durability equals the amount of mana you have. Eldritch Enchantment active, LV42 equals using your connection to the Eldritch arts. You are able to permanently enchant items with magical properties and abilities. Current enchantments equals Eldritch Int enchantment equals boosts an item with a plus 25% of int. Eldritch Whiz enchantment equals boosts an item with a plus 25% of whiz. Eldritch Definite enchantment equals boost an item with a plus 25% of definite. Eldritch Sword, active, LV21 equals by controlling the Eldritch forces within you. You create a sword of pure mystic energy to aid you in combat. Damage is based on int and str. Eldritch Blast, active, LV29 equals by controlling the Eldritch forces within you. You generate powerful streams of fiery energy to vanquish your enemies. Damage based on int and whiz. Eldritch Transmutation, active, LV9 equals by conjuring the powerful Eldritch forces. You are able to transmute simple objects to other simple objects, a knife to a gun to a beer mug. The possibilities are limited, for now. And, that's where I stood now. Neat, right? As for transmutation, it was the hardest to learn, but I already knew how to make an endless beer mug, which alone made the spell so fucking worth it. Transmutation, the action of changing or the state of being into another form, one of the arguably more difficult schools of magic. Concentrate, the Ancient One said, her eyes on me like a falcon on its prey. I am concentrating, I replied. The last few weeks, she had taken into her own hands teaching me transmutation. Apparently creating a beer mug with endless beer was not a useful use for the arts of transmutation. She was obviously wrong, not about me needing to learn more about transmutation, but about the beer mug being useless. I knew people that would kill for that kind of power. I mean, infinite beer. How was that not a god-tier spell in the arts of transmutation? Anyway, the point was, she had taken into her own hands teaching me the arts of transmutation, and it was working to some extent. You need to visualize the change you want to see in the object, the Ancient One replied, circling me as she walked. 80% of transmutation is visualization, the rest is knowledge and creativity. I knew that, but my powers limited certain aspects of learning. I know that, but before I could finish the sentence, the Ancient One stopped me, with a swift move of her hand. I am aware of how your power works, and I am also aware you are using your power as an excuse for your own shortcomings you yourself have created in an illusion. You can't do anything without your power. She knew. I am old, Mr. Walker, very old, and if there is one thing old age brings is wisdom and awareness. I might not know in full depth how your unique power works, But I know enough to know it's not the reason you are failing. You must trust yourself to learn outside the lines your power brings you. Work with your power, not for your power. So you're saying I should ignore my power when learning? I asked, my hands running down my hair as she looked at me. No, what I'm saying is, you define the lines of your own understanding. Your power has limits, everything does, and while those limits are ever changing, you can bend and learn more things than you could possibly imagine, if only you saw beyond what's in front of you. The Ancient One smiled, as an illusion of Emily appeared. By your power standards, should Emily be capable of opening a portal? She was LV15, and considering the amount of int and wis the scroll required, I would say no. I shook my head. Look, the Ancient One pointed to the illusion of Emily successfully opening her first portal, making me feel immensely proud. You see? This is a live feed of her right now. Do you see it now? Lines are meant to be erased. She erased the lines of her own box. I'm so proud of her. I smiled watching her jump and down, happy she had managed to open a portal. Your own symmetry is both helping you and holding you down, the Ancient One added, snapping her fingers, closing the live feed. Your power is terrifyingly symmetrical. It works and functions perfectly, like a machine so to speak, but your soul, it's not symmetrical, and it shouldn't be, meaning at times both things will collide and have some difficulties working together, and it's up to you to make it work. Symmetry and asymmetry both must be in harmony. My power, symmetrical, well, that's one way to describe the gamer. I will try with all my might. I know you will, the Ancient One smiled. So? I smiled, trying to find a way out of class for today. I had to congratulate Emily. She had created her first working portal, and while yes, it was small, and it didn't last long, she was on her way to be a sorceress. You want to congratulate her, don't you? The Ancient One asked, her tone clearly amused. Go ahead, class dismissed. As soon as the Ancient One dismissed me, I opened a portal to where Emily was, and tackled her into a bear hug. I am so goddamn proud of you. I will be strong like you, Emily declared with a giggle. Well, champ, I ain't gonna make that race easy for you, I grinned. I mean, I do have to be strong for when, forget about it, you will never meet boys. Ha! Emily tilted her head to the side in confusion. Nothing, I assured her. Now, who wants to go to Italy to get some real pizza? I asked with a grin. Oh, can I open the portal? Emily asked with a wide smile, as I tried to figure out a way to tell her no without breaking her eager heart. Her portal was only big enough to transport a small dog, maybe a medium one if said dog was skinny, maybe next time. I smiled. Is it because my portals are small? Emily asked, narrowing her eyes on me. Yes, and you don't know where Italy is. Do you want pizza or not? I smiled. I do want pizza, fine, but when I get a portal big enough for you to travel in, you will let me. Emily declared, puffing her chest out, like a pigeon trying to look bigger. She was so fucking adorable. You got it, I nodded with a wink. Nick Fury POV. Bring it on, bitch. Bring it on, bitch. Oh hell no, no friend of mine was going to challenge me like that. Sir, why are we going to Nepal? Coulson, the new agent I had been assigned to train, asked. I have a magician to slap, and a free beer to get, I replied. Mystic ass or not, he was going to get his, for no one makes a fool of Nick motherfucking Fury. As if on cue, a note fell into my lap, saying Fury, I am no longer in Nepal, aka the man you will never catch. By the way, want to grab a beer this Sunday, I hate enhanced individuals. I met with Fury at a bar in Nepal, where he tried to slap me for doing what now was considered America's greatest terrorist attack. He was in a way both happy Hydra had almost no foot in the USA, and angry I had eliminated them the way I did, without telling him. I still can't believe you bombed their asses, Fury sighed, a small smile perking up his lips, beer at hand. Well, crazy or not, you can't say it wasn't efficient, I replied with a smile of my own, as I asked the bartender to refill my drink. Nobody can say that, but nobody can know you did that. The government would go bat crazy if they knew someone had the ability to bomb any location at any given time, Fury chuckled, taking a sip of his drink, which is why this attack was done by Equinox. I raised an eyebrow at that. Equinox. It's how S.H.I.E.L.D. is naming the one responsible behind those bombings, a new terrorist organization, Fury elaborated. They assume that behind this attack, there is an organization, one that is a threat to the world, to the country. Obviously they assume wrong, but that works for us, right? I nodded. I plan on bombing the other bases around the world too, weakening Hydra even more. How many bases do you think there are around the world? Fury asked. I don't know, a few thousand at least, I shrugged. Hydra really plays by the mythos, Fury chuckled, but so do we. Now we have our own Heracles, the mighty demigod that will slay the beast, saving us all. I snorted at that. I suppose. How's little Emily, and the human-eating cat? Fury inquired. They are doing fine, I replied, deciding not to tell Fury about Emily's training with the Ancient One. In fact, he knew nothing of her. For now, I would keep that information. How's the new partner? I asked, looking at Coulson, who was out cold, thanks to my magic beer. He's okay, a bit naive, but we all go through that phase, Fury replied, taking a sip of his beer. He has a good heart, and wants to help the world, so he's okay in my books. It could have been worse, I chuckled, remembering the first thing that Fury asked me when I greeted him at the bar, is Coulson clean, aka is Coulson with Hydra? The look of relief when I nodded was precious. It could have been worse, Fury chuckled. So, any missions? I asked. You know that's classified, but no missions, for now, Fury replied. After Hydra is gone, would you consider working for S.H.I.E.L.D.? I laughed. I won't change a master for another, Fury, but I can be a contractor, if you have the dough. I grinned. I suppose that works. I never expected you to join us, I mean, you following protocol. Fury snorted. I think I would have better luck with the lottery there. Amen, I chuckled, raising my mug of beer. Well, know that this hasn't been good, but I have to go, Fury said, standing up from the bar stool. If I ever happen to need you, I will call you at this number. At this he handed me a phone, one of those phones people used once and threw again. You will, in 1 year, I winked, grabbing the phone. It was, after all, 1993, November. Meaning it 1 year, and a few months, Fury would need me. Captain Marvel was coming. I feel like I should ask, but I also feel you won't answer, so fuck it. Bye, Fury waved, grabbing the unconscious Coulson. Bye, I waved back, seeing Fury exit the now empty bar. December, 1993. It was my first real Xmas with Emily, and we were celebrating like we should have been since we escaped Hydra. As for gifts, everyone gave something to Emily. The Ancient One gave her a bracelet with protection spells. I gave her a bag I enchanted to have bigger space than it should have, and I also gave her an invisible ring that allowed me to know where she was at all times, thanks to the location spell the ring had. Fury gave her a taser with enough firepower to knock down a rhino, a big one, and Goose gave her the privilege of letting Emily pet her on her belly, for that day only, of course. Oh, I also gave her a pair of VIT-enhanced earrings. "This is for you," Emily said, snapping me out of my dream boat. I looked at her hands to see a badly wrapped present, which only helped to melt my heart. Why? Well, it was obvious she had wrapped the present herself. "I wonder what it is?" I asked with a teary smile. "Open it." Emily giggled. With care, I tore the gift wrap open, to see the first thing I have given her, the coloring book, accompanied by a picture of us sleeping on the couch together after Disney movie night with a letter that said, "Tilda, I know you didn't plan to have me, and that I was forced upon you in a difficult situation. I know you had to sacrifice a lot to keep me safe. I know it all. I know that even with all that, you never stopped loving me anyways. Thanks for being there for me, and I hope you continue being there for me, for I couldn't ask for a better dad, and I will try to be the best possible daughter, with love. Emily Walker Tilda." I said I would not cry, but come on. How can I not after this? This is. I think I have an allergy to the Ancient One's cookies. "You are a terrible liar, Mr. Walker," the Ancient One replied, amused. "I know," I chuckled, hugging Emily with a bear hug. "I love you, thanks for being my dad," Emily said with a soft tone. I smiled, ruffling her hair. "Now and always, little champ." Mini portals, my new favorite attack of choice. Hear me out. You see, when you close portals, anything in between gets cut, and here is where mini portals go in. I open one, the attacker's hand goes through, and I close it down. Smaller means less chance of dodging, and a faster close time, and I was practicing that shit all day long. Now, the thing with mini portals was that they were harder to maintain. In short, opening a normal portal used to transport people was easier than opening a portal the size of a fist. Also, this mini portal trick was not always infallible. The portals, regardless of the size, had a limited cutting power, which makes me think that's the reason Doctor Strange didn't use them to cut Thanos' hand. "You have improved a lot," the Ancient One commented, drinking her usual afternoon tea. "Thanks," I smiled, as I continued my cycle of opening and closing portals to increase my speed doing so. "Any new missions you have in mind?" the Ancient One asked, making conversation. "I will travel, find more Hydra bases, and well, you know the rest," I replied, summoning a bomb from my inventory. "Eventually, I will get them all." "That sounds grand," the Ancient One chuckled. "Emily is starting transmutation tomorrow." I looked at her, a curious expression drawing on my face. "She is?" I asked, stopping my practice. "Yes, she has quite a knack for it," the Ancient One nodded. "Soon, she might be the one protecting you." I chuckled. "I'll be happy as long as she can protect herself." "Well, that's any father's wish, isn't it?" the Ancient One replied with an amused tone. "So, when do you leave for your mission?" "Tomorrow this time." I didn't feel bad for leaving, because I would come back every night. Portals were quite convenient, meaning no matter where I was, I always had the option to go back home. "That's quite soon, but understandable," the Ancient One commented. "I wish you the best of lucks, hunting the demons that haunt you, Mr. Walker. You can call me Alex, you know that, right?" I chuckled. "I know, but it sounds better, Mr. Walker, doesn't it?" the Ancient One replied with a smirk, leaving the room. That was a woman I would never understand. She was friendly, yet you never felt like her friend. She was caring, yet you never felt entirely safe around her. All in all, she was a walking mystery. Dad. And that's Emily. I am starting transmutation magic tomorrow," Emily exclaimed in an elated tone, as she tackled me into a hug. Behind her, Goose came into view, purring. "I am happy for you," I smiled, patting her in the head, as Goose rubbed her face on my leg saying hi. Wanna celebrate? The Ancient One gave me a pizza coupon she had in her office, Emily offered. Sounds good, but not today, I am leaving to do something, I said, kissing her forehead. Worry not, I will more than not sleep in my room here, but some days I might not be here. You're going after them, right? Emily muttered. Yes, I nodded. Will you be okay? Emily asked, and I smiled, hugging her tight. Emily, Hydra can't hurt us anymore. I was now beyond their reach, and I would make sure they learned that. Okay, Emily smiled, a sad smile. Don't let those baddies hurt you. I won't, I grinned, they won't know what's coming. At this, Goose purred, meowing to get my attention. Yes, Goose, they shall fear your name too, I nodded. Goose purred happily at that. Take this, Emily said, handing me a small coin. The Ancient One said is for luck, so it might help you. Coin of the 7 lucky gods, tier unknown, it grants the owner 15% extra LUK when consumed. Thanks, I smiled, putting the coin on the inventory. You're welcome. Emily smiled, grabbing Goose from the floor as she noticed the time on the clock of my room. I need to go, I'm late for class. And with that she ran away, taking Goose with her. You knew she was going to give me the coin, didn't you? I asked, feeling the Ancient One's presence as I did so. It was a possibility, the Ancient One replied. You are getting good at feelings my presence. Well, you did tell me you were going to test me on that, so. I studied, I winked, walking out of the room. Next morning, I woke up and had a big breakfast. Then after hugging Emily goodbye, I opened a portal to Canada, my next target to cleanse from the grasp of Hydra. In Canada all I had to do was get on few planes, encountering the map, and well, the next step was easy, meaning all I had to do was go to the airport. If my calculations were right, in 2 weeks, flying to every corner of the country in commercial flying, I would know it all about Hydra Canada, also known as the polite division of Hydra. Okay, enough stereotypes. Time to walk out of the airport bathroom, which was where I had opened my portal. Oh my god. As soon as I opened the bathroom door of the stall I had teleported in, I saw a couple having sex. Jeremy White LV9, Andrea Sanchez LV11. Not the best place to do it, I hummed, as the couple scurried to get dressed. Where did you come from? The man asked, or rather demanded. From the bathroom. I mean, you just saw me walk from the stall. I pointed at the stall. I checked before, you know. The man hissed, as his girlfriend. No, it can be the girlfriend. Bathroom sex on an airport. That's more like a fling, or prostitute, or a girl with really low standards. Before you know. You mean before you started fucking? Please don't hold back from saying it, we are both adults. I rolled my eyes. Well, I am off to my flight, though a piece of advice, get a motel, sex on the airport bathroom. That's sad, on many levels, I chuckled, tossing the man $50 for a cheap motel. Today's on me, have fun like it was intended, on a place that won't get you arrested. Then again, maybe you are into that, so I won't judge, I shrugged, walking out of the bathroom. Canada was surprisingly clean of the disease known as Hydra, well, as clean as they could be, as clean as anyone could be considering everything. And so far in the 2 weeks I've been coming and going off Canada and Nepal, I have managed to discover 69 bases, which was literally nothing compared to what the amount the USA had at one point, which made me wonder how many bases did Germany had. I mean, they started there, I think. I never read about Hydra and their beginnings, never really cared about them, until this world happened. Anyway, now that I knew where all the bases in Canada were located with precision, it was time to bomb them, so, one by one I started to open the portals. dropping my holly jolly Christmas gifts like Papa Noel on crack, ho 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 on them bitches. I continued doing this, until in one of the bases, I saw something as I was about to drop the bomb, a glimpse of information in one of the computers that stopped me from bombing the place. The location of the Winter Soldier, the only one they still had. Well, ain't that interesting, I smirked, putting the bomb back in my inventory as I jumped through the portal into the base. Intruder. 6 seconds to notice me, not bad I suppose. Without stopping, I looked at the Hydra agents raising their guns, as I made my way to the computer where I had caught the glimpse of information about Bucky and his location. Then with a quick glance, I memorized where Bucky was. According to the computer, he was in one of the Siberian bases. As I did this, they all started shooting at me, but I paid them no mind. The Eldritch Shield would take care of any attacks. All right, I have what I need. I nodded, dropping the bomb on the floor as I opened a portal out of there. Enjoy Tilda, I waved at them, as the portal closed. Seconds later, a big explosion was heard in the distance. Now, the question was, do I kill Bucky, or try to save him, as I am now? Both are very possible, I guess. I will know when I see him, I muttered, opening a portal to Siberia, a few miles away from the coordinates I had seen in the computer. Outside the base in Siberia, I used sight to assess the situation within, and so far, I saw nothing that would make my mission extremely difficult. In fact, it would be a breeze for what it looked like. Now where are you, Bucky? I muttered, looking through the place, stopping when something caught my attention, a dot moving on my minimap. Using sight, I changed my view to that moving dot, seeing none other than Bucky Barnes getting back from a mission on his motorcycle, meaning, I could bomb the base, and deal with him. Hello there, I grinned, opening a portal to where he was. Stepping out of the portal, I stopped his motorcycle with my telekinesis, shattering the tires with ease. Outside, the night was cold, as a winter-like chill permeated the air. I guess that's Siberia for you. Bucky, who had just now recovered from the sudden intervention of my telekinesis on his bike that had made him crash against a tree violently, started shooting at me with his assault rifle, all while I opened a portal to the base a few miles behind us, dropping one of my merry jolly holly bombs inside the base. I really didn't need to focus on Bucky right now. My Eldritch Shield was more than sufficient to stop his bullets. Seconds later, after dropping the bomb, a big explosion was heard at the distance. As Bucky glared at me in realization, it was you are the one destroying our bases. I smiled, as innocently as possible. I nodded. I will kill you, Bucky stated, with a growl as I inspected his level. Bucky Barnes LV 134, oh, he had leveled up. Good for him. Do we have to do this, Bucky? I inquired. Hydra will soon be no more. I can help you, you know. Alex Walker, the Winter Soldier, replied. You are nothing but a broken tool, a reckless murderer who leaves a trail of blood everywhere he goes. Today, I will end your life. Funny coming from Mr. Brainwash. I almost chuckled at his bravado. I knew in terms of physical prowess he was stronger than me, but I wasn't only a warrior, I was also a mage. I guess what I am trying to say is, who brings a gun to a magic fight? Very well then, I sighed, shall we? Though, I was curious of finding out how far away were our physical might, so for a bit, I would test my might against him. I mean, I could always stop him with my magic, or telekinesis. Right now, I just wanted to have some fun. But first I winked, breaking his guns with telekinesis. What I wanted was an old fist fight, no guns allowed. With growl showing his annoyance, Bucky quickly closed the gap between us, darting at me with lethal precision, sending a flying kick my way. Seeing through his attack, I caught his foot as it arrived, only to receive a kick from the second foot on my chest. Okay, this is fun, I chuckled, much to his surprise. You are crazy, Bucky scoffed. True, I nodded, rushing at him, using my momentum to punch his face with a focused strike. In pain, Bucky staggered back, but soon turned around, using his metal arm to punch my guts, breaking a few of my ribs in the process. Then as I doubled over in pain, he kneed my face with savage strength, throwing me into the snow. Once on the snow, gasping in pain, he jumped on me and started to choke me with his metal arm. As I started to question my choices, why was I even doing this? Okay, time to use magic, I sighed in a strained voice, nose bleeding on the snow as he continued to choke me. It was time to play on my terms. I had already tested my strength, and while I could win in the long run, it would be painful, and I wanted no pain. Well, that's enough, I roared, breaking his hold with my telekinesis. Then using my eldritch whip, I wrapped him with lasso, sealing his movements, immobilizing him in place. With sigh I approached the struggling Bucky, slamming my palm to his chest, summoning the eldritch power within me to pull his spirit out. Should have started with that. I chuckled. What, in the actual fuck? The disembodied voice of Bucky's spirit growled, floating around me angrily. Shut it, I sighed, healing my wounds with a potion. With the now soulless body of Bucky in my room in Nepal, I started to research how to undo brainwashes, all while Bucky's astral form floated around my room without saying a word, only glaring. The longer he stays outside his body, the harder it will be for him to adapt, the Ancient One said as she entered my room, giving me a cup of tea. Any ideas how to undo his Hydra brainwash? I asked with a deep breath, taking a sip of the tea she had graciously brought me. There are a few spells that come to mind, but the results vary, so it's not a sure path to victory, the Ancient One replied, humming at the thought. But, why are you asking me? After all, Mr. Walker, you already know how to save him, don't you? She had a point. I knew how, Charles Xavier, but I really didn't want to owe the guy a favor. I didn't have any hard feelings against him, but I didn't have any good either. Fine. I will contact Raven, I sighed, but, do you have a spell to bind him or something, at least until he behaves? I knew I could subdue him, but I didn't want to chase his ass to do it. As a matter of fact, I do, the Ancient One chuckled, amused at my dilemma. As she approached the soulless body of Bucky, I will put a restraining rune on his body, it should be enough to keep him from acting out. Carving the rune on his forehead, the Ancient One pulled Bucky's spirit back to his body. I will, what? He will be for the most time, a confused little puppy, the Ancient One smiled, patting Bucky on the head, but if he happens to break the restraining rune, I trust you have the power and knowledge to stop him. Okay, I sighed, pulling my phone out of my inventory to call Raven. Who am I? Bucky asked, touching his face. Who are you? He said, touching my face. To the corner, I chuckled, grabbing him by the neck, like a cat with my telekinesis, moving him to the corner, away from me, as I called Raven. Alex. Raven answered at the second beep. Wow, that was fast. I actually didn't know if they were going to answer. I gave you this number in case you ever needed something. I wasn't about to hang up on you, Raven replied from the other side of the line, amused. So, what do you need? I need Charles, I sighed. For what? Raven asked, her tone now more serious. I have a friend. No, I barely know him. I have an acquaintance, yeah, that's it. I have an acquaintance that was brainwashed by Hydra, and, well, who else but Charles to clean that up? I replied, looking at the clueless Bucky, sitting on the corner like a child with a timeout. I see Raven sighed. Charles he doesn't really want to help others right now, he's mourning the loss of Jean. I know, but this guy, he needs his help. Bucky is nothing but a weapon following the orders of monsters, I replied. Well, I guess I can give you his address, but I don't think you will get anything. Raven sighed once again, giving me Charles' location. Thanks, I thanked her. Without her, it would have taken me a few weeks to find where he was. Don't thank me yet, he might say. No, Raven muttered. Have fun trying though, and with that she hanged up. Rude, I didn't get to say bye. Okay, let's go buddy, I said, grabbing Bucky with my telekinesis, as I opened a portal to where Charles was. Gotta love my map. Stepping out of the portal, with Bucky floating behind me thanks to my telekinesis, I looked around to see where I had teleported to. Trees, birds, and lots of insects, a forest, great, and by the looks of it, a forest with a single house within a 20-mile radius, at least according to my map. Charles, I shouted. Of all the people I expected a visit from, you were the last. I heard him chuckle in a bitter tone, as he came into view from the back of his house. He looked terrible, like he had been drinking his pain away, like he was one beer away from having cirrhosis. Well, you did try to ***** my mind a couple times, I replied with a shrug. I need your help. Charles looked at me, his wheelchair stopping at the door of his house. I can't help you. Great, he was going emo on me. Look, you aren't my first option, you're not even on the top 10, but unfortunately you are very efficient. This guy is like me, but worse. He was actually brainwashed into obeying Hydra, and you are the key to his freedom. I promised I would not interfere anymore, not after what happened to Jean. I killed her, Charles hissed. She is not dead, she ascended to another plane, you bald idiot, I sighed. She is alive, very much so, and one day, she might come back. That was a lie, a big one, not the fact that she was alive, but the fact she could come back. More of your secret knowledge, I presume, Charles chuckled bitterly. Yes, now you can 1. Help this guy, and make Jean proud, or 2. Let him die, because he might as well die, if he has no freedom, I replied. Is she truly alive? Charles asked, his eyes looking at me, trying to find in me a reason to keep going. Yes, though technically she is now a god, so, pray to her. I chuckled. I will help you, if only because you saved Raven, when I was too stubborn to accept my own mistakes, Charles eventually said, after a few seconds of silence. That works for me, I nodded. Let's see if I still have it, Charles muttered. I mean, I haven't been able to pick anything from you, not a single thought. Oh yeah, I had forgotten. Thanks to the Phoenix fiasco, I had gained psychic immunity. I have trained my mind to keep you out, I grinned, happy he had decided to help. According to Charles, even with his immense psychic powers, it would take him a few months to completely erase the programming Bucky had endured for so many years. So with that said, I left Bucky with him. Charles, after all, he was strong enough to deal with the broken soldier, and perhaps helping Bucky would give Charles a new sense of belonging, a new mission in life. Time would tell. As for me, well, with Bucky in the process of being saved under Charles's care, I was focusing on other things, like helping Emily with her transmutation homework, trying to become a geneticist to understand the super soldier serum, and training on the gym, and such. As for my Hydra quest, no, the personal one, but the gamer one, well, I was apparently 5 bases short from destroying the 20-something I needed to complete the quest. If I had to take a guess, I would say the bases the quest counted were the main ones, but honestly I didn't care much for that. Without Bucky, Hydra was at best a nuisance, a fly under my thumb. I was also focusing on making money, well, not so much making money, but on blatantly copying ideas from my world, to make money, like Facebook. There was no Facebook here, or Amazon, there was no Amazon here, meaning I could capitalize on such ideas, to multiply my money. I already had enough liquid capital to start, all I needed was to code the entire thing, and build the business model from basically zero. Funny thing, eBay does exist here, weird right, Amazon doesn't exist, but eBay does. The weirdest thing is, eBay came after Amazon. As for what I needed the money for, well, many reasons, heck the list was nearly infinite. For one, I wanted to invest in the Extremis project, which sounded like a nice power boost, which meant I was about to erase Iron Man 3 out of the canon timeline altogether. I also wanted money because, well, gamer power or not, money is basically an infinity stone in every universe. Also, who doesn't like being rich? Realistically, no one would ever reject such a thing. I had also bought stocks in Stark's Industries, which right now were at an all-time low, because of Tony being depressed and all, but I knew soon those stocks would triple their price, reason why I had invested a few millions in his company. I got a B. Emily exclaimed as she entered my room, a frown on her face. I didn't know the Ancient One had a grading system. It really took me by surprise. I don't recall seeing her grading anyone. I mean, she does look at you when you fuck something up, but that's it. I asked her to grade me. Emily pouted. Well, I am sure you will get an A next time, I smiled, ruffling her hair. I will, Emily declared with a newfound fire within her. Oh my, to think grading someone would push them so much towards the path of success. Maybe I should have graded you, the Ancient One chuckled, as she walked into my room. No thanks, I didn't like that idea at all. How is business going, Mr. Walker? The Ancient One asked, her eyes on me. I just started investing, and hiring programmers, so, slow I guess. I replied. Well, everyone has to start somewhere, don't you think? With that she left, once again leaving me to wonder, what was she all about? Can we go to the market to buy some cereal? Emily said, seconds after the Ancient One left. Sure, I nodded, as Emily opened a portal to the market in Nepal. Back from the market, I continued studying about genetics slowly but surely, rising my level on it, until an idea came to mind, a completely unrelated idea to what I was doing, but brilliant one nonetheless. What if I could connect my map to a satellite above the Earth? I mean, I didn't have the option to connect my map to anything, but if the satellite were to be mine, there could be a chance where it would be possible to connect my map to it, in the process discovering where every enemy I have on Earth was. I mean, it was an idea / theory worth investing some time into it, because regardless of if my map could or could not work with said satellite, a satellite was always a welcome tool to anyone's arsenal. Now that I think about, I could also invest some time learning how to code AI. I mean, it could be beneficial having a highly intelligent AI helping me with my projects. I guess, I could call my AI, Corn, or Crow, I hummed, getting more and more excited with the idea. Fuck it, I will create my own AI. Though I would have to make sure I didn't create a second Ultron by mistake. Ultron was not what I wanted, a Jarvis was what I wanted. As I pondered about my new personal goal, I got a call, from no other than Fury. Fury. I answered the phone. No, the Easter Bunny, of course it's me. I swear Fury is like a cat, I just can't get mad at him. Well, what can I do for you, buddy? I asked. Well, I need your help, Fury said, as I looked at the calendar. It was still 1994, early 1994. So either Captain Marvel had decided to come a year earlier, or he had another problem. Where are you? I asked. In New York, by your old apartment, Fury replied. Okay, on my way, I said, opening a portal to where he was. Ain't that efficient? Fury whistled, hanging up the phone, as I stepped out of the portal. Why are you here though? I asked, wondering why of all places he had picked my old house in New York to call me. It was the only place I could think of. Fury sighed. Look, I think Hydra is, well, the motherfuckers are acting so it wasn't Captain Marvel. What do you mean? I asked. Well, you've been bombing their asses left and right, and I think they have changed their approach about how to proceed with their plans. Fury started to explain, his eyes full of worry. In the last few months, a lot of agents have been hired, and some of our best have been fired. In a terrible way, things have started to get weird. I think it's them. They are absorbing S.H.I.E.L.D., taking over in a rather aggressive way, and well, you are the only fucker I know that has experience with them. Are you sure it's them? I mean, realistically, chances were it was them, but this seemed out of character for them. They were more of the type that took their time moving the pieces. Well, it's either them, or S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to hell. Fury sighed. Look, all I need is for you to do your voodoo magic thing, and see if we are clean. If we are, well, that's on me, but if we are not, I need you to help me clean S.H.I.E.L.D. from Hydra's grasp. With a smile I nodded. Of course, I not only hate them, but I consider you a friend, so let's kick some Hydra ass. Friend, huh? Fury chuckled. I guess I could do worse. I take great offense to that, I scoffed. New quest created equals the poison of S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D is slowly but surely being taken apart, but the question is, by whom? Help Nick Fury find out who's behind the poison within S.H.I.E.L.D. Reward equals 15.000.000 EXP, $5.000.000. Failure equals S.H.I.E.L.D. demise. Accept equals yes/no. So there was a chance Hydra wasn't behind this. Ain't this interesting? With the help of Fury I infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. Though it was more like he hired me, though to be fair I was using a different name, Tom Robertson. Anyways, regardless of the how, I was inside of S.H.I.E.L.D, helping Fury unveil the mystery behind the change of said organization. Which was surprisingly easy to unveil. It took me literally 8 minutes to see that the ones inside S.H.I.E.L.D were a mix of Hydra and the Skrull. No wonder the organization was falling apart. The Skrull and Hydra had different goals. So, you are telling me, aliens and Hydra are fucking with S.H.I.E.L.D? Fury hissed as I nodded at his comment. I don't know what you want to do with the aliens, but I already killed 10 Hydra agents within, I replied. You already key? Of course you did. Fury nodded, taking a deep breath as he rubbed his temples. I am too old for this shit. You're in your 40s, I snorted. Which is too old to deal with a fucking alien invasion, and Hydra as a topping. Fury shot back, as I raised my hands in surrender with a chuckle. Look, you have me, and I am more than enough to deal with Hydra and the Skrull, I stated. So far, according to my readings with my power, the Skrull were barely above human in terms of levels, which meant they were at best slightly more annoying to deal with than Hydra. The Skrull, even their name is creepy. Fury sighed. How many? 15 Skrull, and 30 Hydra agents, I answered. So far that was the count I had, which meant there were more. But those numbers are just for this base, I clarified. Okay, cool, we can deal with that, right? Fury sighed. I mean, you alone have probably the highest kill count a man will ever have in Hydra terms. True, I nodded, summoning my infinite beer mug. Get me one, Fury requested, to which I obliged, giving him a beer mug, an infinite one. God, magic beer is so goddamn good. Anyways, Hydra is just your average Monday at this point. The ones that worry me is the Skrull. All they want is a planet to reside in, I said, getting his attention. You know them? Fury inquired, beer mug at hand. Heavens no, but I know their motives, I replied. They are at war with, God, I forgot their name, but they are at war with someone, and that war eventually led them to Earth. I see, Fury sighed. Are they bad? For us humans? At this I nodded, yes and no. In an ideal world, it would be best if we didn't have them on Earth, but they can't leave not without dealing with the Kree. The Kree. That's their name, OOF, I almost forgot about them. Okay, I think I can work with that. Shapeshifters, right? Fury asked and I nodded, surprised he figured that out alone. Okay, we know who they are and their motives, the rest is easy. I think the best course of action is capturing their leader, I nodded. Then let's get to it, Fury grinned. Or? I smiled, opening a portal to where the leader of the Skrull was, Talos. We can talk to him. What in the actual fuck? Talos exclaimed in human guise, aiming a gun at us. Talos, LV-47. Talos, General of the Skrull, Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., talk, I said, breaking Talos' gun with my telekinesis. You sure work fast, Fury said, clearing his throat, as he turned to look at Talos. Let's talk. Talos, feeling understandably outmatched, showed his true face. I suppose I don't have any other choice. No, you don't, I nodded. It took Fury and Talos 1 hour to come to a peaceful agreement. Talos would stop trying to take over S.H.I.E.L.D., and would help Fury clean S.H.I.E.L.D. from Hydra's grasp. As for me, with that all set and done, I used my map within the S.H.I.E.L.D. base I was in, and once I had located every Hydra agent that had managed to infiltrate the organization, I killed them. I did the same for every S.H.I.E.L.D. base in the country, killing around 1,200 Hydra agents. Effectively completing the quest. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. You have leveled up. I have to say, this has been the easiest quest I have ever had the pleasure of doing since I appeared into this world. I mean, $15 million for a day's work, I call that stonks. Cash equals 16.000.789. Not only that, but I got a new skill thanks to the completion of the quest, Danger Sense. It's basically Spidey's thing. It was the reward, so nice. 2 months later, after my quest within S.H.I.E.L.D., I decided to start on a new project. Yes, I know, I already had many projects. The one of me becoming a geneticist, and the one of me becoming a billionaire, but like those two, this project was also very important, for it would drastically increase my chances of survival. I needed an armor. Hear me out, strong or not, suits of armor were essential for extra protection, and I didn't mean a suit like Tony's, no, I meant something more classical, a mix of magic and strength. Though, what materials should I use, I hummed, for in the Marvel Universe, there were many materials that one could use, like Uru, or vibranium, or adamantium, though considering Uru is out of my reach for now, I think vibranium and adamantium are my best bets. Which meant, if I really wanted to do this, to have a suit of armor of my own, I had to find a way to contact no other than Ulysses Klaus, the vibranium stealer. Grabbing my phone, I called Fury. Fury. Yes. Fury said from the other side of the line. I need you to help me find a person, I replied. I have a feeling I won't like this, but, who? Fury replied after 2 seconds of silence. Ulysses Klaus, I replied. I was right, I do not like this. Fury sighed, I will see what can I do with that said, he hung up. Time to gear up, I declared in my room, for things were about to get interesting. New quest created, a suit of armor, time to gear up. The Marvel Universe is a dangerous place, gods, demons, and things above them lurk in the shadows, and a man without weapons or armor is a naked man. Completion equals make a suit of armor. Optional equals make the suit of armor with vibranium and adamantium. Rewards equals 8.000.000 exp. 2. Well, ain't that interesting? With Fury working on finding out where Ulysses was and how I could get in contact with the man, I focused on other things, like leveling up, doing dungeons and such, and also in advancing some of my other projects, like deciphering the super soldier serum. As I was now, my level in the art genetics was high, but not high enough to decode the formula from an amputated arm, but I was getting there. I just needed time, and eventually I would crack the code. A good part of being a gamer is that no skill is ever out of my reach. As for my plan with Ulysses, well, I would steal from him. I knew the man had vibranium. According to my MCU knowledge, he had a dealing with a prince of Wakanda 2 years ago, meaning the bastard had vibranium. Vibranium I would repossess. Then after I had the vibranium, well, I would see from there how to forge my armor. As for where I was right now, well, about to do a dungeon. I had found quite a few of my level and above on my never-ending hunt of Hydra. The Forsaken LV 115 to 120. Enter equals yes / no. I was level 116, so I was there within the level zone. Time to level up, I smiled, pressing the yes button. 2 hours in the dungeon, I had discovered monsters of my level were relatively easy to kill. The dungeon in question was filled to the brim with undead beasts that had magic at their unholy disposal. Nonetheless, even without using magic, destroying them was a relatively easy task, and one I seemed to particularly excel at, though, as gamer, one always know the difficulty of the dungeon is not on the trash mobs, on the dungeon boss. Rother LV 120, General of the Forsaken. I had yet to test my might against him, but from the get-go, he was 4 levels ahead of me, and looked positively terrifying. He towered over me in size, and his manner was so big it could be felt without being close to him, and to top it all, his entire being emanated a type of miasma that looked particularly dangerous. At times like this I wished I had a dungeon guide. So you have finally come. Rother's voice boomed around the cave he was in, grinning like a madman at the sight of bloodshed. Questioning how he had felt my presence, I took a step out of the shadows. Hello, I waved at him, not used to dungeon creatures talking back to me. My king has demanded your head, human, and I shall deliver. Rother declared, for this is the last time to get in his way. Oh, so he's like a literal game boss, an AI perhaps, with role-playing settings. Neat. Shut up, you big bulk of EXP. I chuckled, trying to see his response, but instead of saying anything, the undead general glared at me, and with a loud battle cry charged at me. Fortunately I had already foreseen such an event, and had been in a defensive stance, which allowed me the time I needed to parry the undead's first blow with a magic circle. Your insolence ends today, mortal. The undead general roared, throwing a few punches my way that I dodged by jumping back. Well, if we must role-play, I grinned, pushing him back with my telekinesis. Bow to your master, mongrel. Ah, this was my D&D wet dream, well, without the chance of dying. Such hubris. The undead hissed, blocking 2 of my attacks as I used savagery, before attempting to counter with a shadow bolt, which was basically a mana bolt, with extra effects. It drained your mana for the same amount of damage it dealt on you. However, as the shadow bolt was about to reach me, I opened a portal in front of me to the dungeon's entrance, effectively nullifying his attack. Smiling at the fact he was taking my attacks head-on, I rushed at him, as I saw him exhale, fists tight to his waist. Seeing as he was taking me head-on instead of using other tactics, I realized something. This would be the best opportunity to test savagery to the fullest extent, a skill which made each hit stronger than the last. Opening a portal behind him, I jumped out, delivering a horizontal kick that undead blocked with a mana shield that shattered under the pressure. The unexpected mana shield threw me off balance for a second, and for the looks of it, the general intended to milk this opportunity. Blasting me with a great shadow bolt, I was thrown against the wall, quite literally, as he advanced forward trying to deliver a shadow strike. Two attacks I hadn't seen in this dungeon so far until now. Unlike Shadow Bolt, which was a common spell on the dungeon, taking a deep breath, I looked at him, and using my telekinesis, I pushed myself into the air, throwing a few boulders at the undead in the process. Boulders he tried to dodge, but as he did so, I took the opening he himself had so gracefully given me, dodging my attacks with a smile that was followed by a barrage of powerful fists, stacking savagery with each one, making each attack more devastating than the last. As things were, it was clear the undead was quickly becoming overwhelmed by the sheer raw force of my attacks, and had begun to take great damage under the relentless onslaught of incoming blows. I should have done this with Bucky, I said, pressing the undead more and more. Savagery was truly a broken skill if you had the chance to use it. I won't be defeated by a mere human. The undead general roared, pushing me back with a strange energy that came off him, effectively breaking my chain of attacks, making me lose my X53 stacks of savagery. This must be the critical phase each boss in every single game has, I whistled in appreciation. Come forth, Forsaken. Serve your king and aid this general to eliminate this human. The undead general roared once again, summoning an army of undead creatures. No stacks, and the boss had summoned an army of monsters. It's almost like he wants me to stack my way to a one-punch man scenario. Come at me. I waved at the undead, rushing at them, attacking them, stacking my savagery, eventually killing each and every single one of them with a single punch. I felt like Saitama, but without the baldness, each hit giving me a new stack. By the point I reached the boss again, it had been a few minutes. The boss had been quiet, charging something, but it didn't matter, for now I had over X300 stacks. You gave me enough time to. He never got to finish his sentence, for my next punch exploded his entire being into a messy work of art. I gave you enough time to do what? I asked, trying to be funny. I wonder why though. I am alone in a world only I can access. Is there really a need to say funny one-liners? After finishing a few more dungeons in the east side of New York, with little to no difficulty stacking a few interesting items in the process, I went back home to spend some bonding time with Emily, where I got a message from Fury saying he had found the information I had previously requested. According to the information Fury had found, Ulysses would be in a black market convention in the coast of Damu, Kenya, a very private convention according to the files, one that very few people knew about. Fortunately for me, S.H.I.E.L.D was one of those selected individuals that knew about the convention, all thanks to their spies within the black market community. Grinning, I memorized the location of the convention and date from the files. According to them, the convention would take place 2 weeks from now, meaning I had 2 weeks to plan how I would steal Ulysses from all of the vibranium he had in store. I wonder, will me getting all of that vibranium fuck Vision's body? I hummed. I suppose, in the end I really don't care if Vision gets his body, he did nothing with it, at all. Thanos clapped his metallic cheeks, and so did everyone in Infinity War. Anyway, once I had the vibranium in my possession, all I would need would be to find a way to acquire some adamantium, by obviously no legal means. All I knew about its creation was that a very small part of the government had the recipe in a very secret place, as it was one of their greatest discoveries. Too bad I planned to steal it. I wonder if Fury would want to help me out. Though, even if Fury didn't help, I knew that eventually, given enough time, I would acquire the formula. Dad, look. A transmuted cookie. I turned around to see Emily with a burnt cookie on her hands. How the fuck do you transmute something magically and it comes burned? Looks tasty, I smiled, hoping she would not ask me to eat it. Please don't lie to me, I am 7, not 5, I know it's more coal than cookie, but still, I am improving, right? Emily smiled, as wide as possible. Yeah, you are, I nodded with a chuckle. Well, I am off to try and transmute an edible cookie. Wish me luck, Emily said, running out of my room. She's always doing something nowadays. I'm proud of her. By the time Strange comes here, she will probably be a powerful sorceress of her own right. 2 weeks later, and I was in Vdamu, Kenya, using a clever disguise. That was no disguise at all, though I was wearing sunglasses and a hat, but not to hide my appearance. It was all a fashion choice of Emily. She bought the hat and the glasses with the allowance I had given her. As for the convention, I had yet to see Ulysses in the area, but even without him I had seen a few interesting items. Heck, there was a guy selling an old nuclear bomb, though according to Fury that nuke would never leave Africa. But even without the nuke, well, there was very interesting collection of weapon, so I was keeping myself entertained until Ulysses appeared. After all, with vibranium and in the future adamantium, any weapon from here was useless, an outdated piece of gear that, whilst interesting, would serve no purpose. See anything you like? Arbaomi KR Park LV29. The man in question had caught me watching some of his merchandise. I hummed, looking over his collection of assault rifles. I like some of them, especially the vintage AK-47, it brings me back to the old days, I grinned. Yes, it does the same to me, Arbaomi smiled, handing me one of the vintage AK-47, it old, but effective, and at the end of the day, isn't that what we all look for? Effectiveness. These babies will kill your enemies, on the right hands of course, for the right price. He was a good seller. I had to admit I was almost considering buying some weapons, but for now, I needed to keep a low profile, didn't want to scare Ulysses out of the convention before he even arrived. I'll come back after I finish some businesses with a partner of mine, I lied. I'll be waiting for you, Sir. Arbaomi bowed, as I left his stand. With a smile, I continued walking until the man of the hour, the one and only, appeared, Ulysses Klaus, the arms dealer, LV35. Inwardly grinning at the sight of him, I moved towards the man, looking at his bodyguards, Roberto Jimenez LV29, Abdullah Mesh, LV27. Ulysses Klaus, the man I was looking for, I greeted, as the black arms dealer in question turned to look at me with a mix of confusion and recognition. Something didn't feel right, so for now, I would move with caution. I seem to be at a disadvantage here, Mr. Ulysses greeted. Albert Wesker, I replied. Well, Mr. Wesker, what can little old me do for you? Ulysses grinned, a mad grin, something to be expected from a madman. Well, this is a delicate conversation, of a delicate amount of money and merchandise, so, how about we have this discussion in private? I had no idea how these arms dealing businesses were made. Hydra never covered that, but, from what Fury told me, the big fishes liked the privacy, and he was the biggest fish here. I see. Well, I would be honored to hear your mysterious proposition. Ulysses smiled, but before that, you don't mind if my guys search you for weapons or mics, right? Go ahead, I smiled, giving his 2 bodyguards the green light, as if I needed weapons to crush them. With the strength I had right now, I could probably pull a Greg or Clegane on their asses. He's clean, Roberto said, after pulping my body, while Abdul used an electric device to scan me. He has no electronics on him, he's clean, boss. Abdul nodded. Well, now let's talk business. Ulysses smiled. Let's. I nodded. I followed Ulysses to his base, already wondering what the man was playing at. He knew me, his eyes sparkled with recognition, meaning he knew I was lying about my name. The question is, what does he win with this? The only plausible thing I can think of is that he allied himself with Hydra, as in Hydra paid him a buttload of money to deal with me. Other than that, I had no idea. Perhaps he simply knew who I was, and what I had done, and simply decided not to piss me off. I mean, it would be wise of him, or perhaps I was imagining shit. I mean, the guy was clearly related to the Joker. As I pondered over what Ulysses wanted, and how I would steal his vibranium, the answer to the first question came, as a few red dots in my minimap appeared. Using sight, I confirmed my suspicions. Ulysses was indeed working with Hydra. Taking a deep breath, I searched all the rooms in his base looking for the vibranium with sight, finding the material on the last floor of his room. At this I grinned. He was not driving me into a trap, but to my prize. I have a question, I said, looking at Ulysses. And that question is? Ulysses inquired, offering me a candy. How much did they pay you to try and capture me? I asked. Much to my surprise, instead of reacting in a shocked manner, Ulysses laughed. A shit ton of money. I respect your honesty, I smiled. Well, you already know, Ulysses shrugged, so what now? As he said that, his 2 bodyguards pointed their weapons at me. At this Ulysses laughed. Guys, I appreciate the effort, but that shit ain't gonna work on him. He then turned to look at me. It ain't right. Not anymore, I nodded. Good, just confirming. Ulysses nodded, looking at his bodyguards, which made them lower their guns. Chuckling, he turned to look at me, and asked once again, so now what? I go into the trap, I smiled. Ha ha. Ulysses cackled. I knew there was a reason I liked ya. You are as crazy as me. Well, it's for this video. Hope you guys like the video. Like, share and subscribe. And also comment if you have any recommendation for the future upload.